do have eyes, they're not developed. So if you think back to the first room when we were in the dark, that's the environment that these organisms are used to living in. So if you never see sunlight, what do you need to make pigment for? And if you can't see because you're in the dark, what do you need eyes for? So we have our apex predator, the Great Basin pseudoscorpion. He gets his name because he resembles a scorpion except for one kind of major detail is missing. His tail, right. So instead he's got these long arms that he uses to bring food to his mouth, and he also has a set of fangs that are venomous that he can inject into his prey. How big do you think this guy is? That big? That'd be scary. What if you got him?
The size of a dime.
Some of you probably saw the film, so you know, kind of have an idea of how big he is. I do have one here if you'd like to meet him. Would you guys like to meet our pseudoscorpion? You seem not so sure. Don't worry, he's not alive. This is our top predator. So if this is the top predator, imagine how much smaller all of these guys are. And in fact, our springtails, which I hope to find one for you, live, moving in the cave, these are about the size of a piece of dandruff. So you're literally looking for hopping dandruff as we make our way through the cave. The diplurians and the millipedes, they tend to hang out in the areas where we are not. There are some old wooden steps in some areas of the cave, and they really enjoy eating that sort of decaying wood. The cave crickets, they like to hang out kind of near the exit tunnel, so maybe we can see one today. And then the model cave harvestmen, I haven't seen one of these myself, but they're likened to, on the outside, one we're all very familiar with, a daddy longlegs. And so I like to call them cave daddies. And then we have our troglozenes. We have our desert wood rat, and we have our Townsend's big-eared bat. So our bat population isn't very big. Last count we had was about 75 bats, and they're mostly a maternal colony. So they come in here to sort of roost, give birth to their young, and then they'll move on to other caves in the summer. And just a side note, please don't feed the wood rats peanuts. I'm not sure who took this picture or why we use it as an example in our cave, but just have to throw that out there. They're not really present or active in the cave this day, but they have a long history here, and so we like to speak about them a little bit. You guys have any questions? Thank you. All right, we're going to move on this way. Please watch your heads, it does get low through here.
Yeah, I'm good.
That was good. Cool. So this kid didn't have a bat, and then to them then it will be cool.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
What?
That's so cool.
Actually, another passage going out of here. You have to crawl down this way, crawl on your belly and so you've got back there, and then you can finally go down into it.
If you want to just kind of hold on to it
Yeah.
around the corner. That was fun. Dr. Seuss or something. Stairs or just a ramp?
Just a ramp with a low ceiling. That's cool. Yeah, can't go anywhere without seeing that stuff, can you?
So if anyone would like to take a seat, you are welcome to sit on this wall.
So it's dirt.
Alright, so you might have noticed as we walked through this little passage here, it doesn't look entirely natural. While the formations that make up the wall are naturally occurring in this cave, or did at one point naturally occur in this cave, what they did to allow entry into this room was essentially blast through all of this rock, and we believe that was done by the CCC during the time that the Panama Canal was being built, and so they named this the Panama Canal. But before this was blasted through and created this nice entrance for us to walk through, if you wanted to get into this room, you would have had to belly crawl your way through from this area over here. You would have belly crawled however long it might have taken you down this area, and then you finally would have been able to stand up in this room and light your candle. Now, have you all noticed all the writing that's on the ceiling here? How does that make you guys feel to see this? Sad. Very sad. Yeah, so before this entry was created, again, they would have been crawling through on their bellies, having only their candle with which to see. So in a sort of logbook style, once they gained entry into this room, they would have lit their candles and then inscribed their names or signatures or a date with their candle flame. So this is all candle soot that we see here on the ceiling. But for a while, we really didn't like the way this looked. So what you'll notice back here in this area, there's several scrub marks. This is where we actually tried to wash it off the ceiling, and that didn't really work. And then we thought, well, maybe we can just paint over it. Well, that doesn't really look better, and likely, considering the time period, the chemicals in the paint they would have used would have been much more damaging to the cave than these signatures themselves. So these are now actually protected under the Antiquities Act, and so we no longer do anything to try and remove these signatures. But one kind of interesting feature of this room is you'll notice there's a lot of this orange growth on the ceiling. So we haven't done much research, but what we believe this to be is a sort of microbacteria. And we believe that it's feeding off of carbon from the candle soot. So if we use our imaginations, maybe in a few hundred years, 1,000 years, million years, all of this carbon will have been consumed, and perhaps the ceiling of this section of the cave will be returned to its natural state. Interesting. So does it make you guys feel a little bit better to know that these are more historical in nature and not recent taggings?
Yeah.
A little bit? It's still a little unsettling to see, right?
Yeah. Petroglyphs were also graffiti at one point in time too. So.
Yep, exactly. So we have to consider that. And I want to show you kind of one unique property.
200 years from now, if that's, preserved in history, it'll be
kind of
neat.
stand over here and a nice piece for us. So when we subject this to a UV black light, first of all, this kind of changes your perception of color, right?
That's
Because
cool.
without it, it just looks like
What
it's
colors do
black
you
and white.
see?
But then we put this black light on it,
Cool.
you get all these different colors. But what's unique about calcite is that it phosphoresces. So if we hold this UV light to it and sort of charge up those atoms and get them excited,
That's cool.
they sort of glow in the dark. I'll show that to you guys one more time. So essentially the atoms are being put in an excited state right now, and they're kind of bouncing outward, and they want to come immediately back. And so that's why when we turn the light off, they glow for just a second as they make their way back.
That's cool.
I'll show you guys that again. Yeah. we won't make our way into this room, but this is called the Talus Room. And at one point, they were trying to construct a path through this room so that the tour could be a full loop. Now, the reason why they stopped construction was because not only was there a lot of rockfall, but there was a particular piece on the ceiling, a large chunk that had a crack in it, and they were very concerned that it was going to come crashing down at any time. So we're actually working on creating a tour route in here where you get kind of a wild caving experience. There's no paved path like we're on in here. There's not very many lights back there. And so you get to kind of go in with your helmet and your headlamp and really get a feel of what it's like being in this cave.
That'd be super fun.
That would be really cool.
Yeah,
You
I'd
can't
do
go
it.
that way.
What's that, buddy?
You can't go that way
You're correct.
because there's a crack and the rocks fall down.
What's that?
When there's a big crack in here, then the rocks fall down.
Is that why you can't go back there? Oh, okay.
So you have to go a different way.
Yep.